If you had to choose one chord progression to represent rock and roll in the Olympics of awesome music, which one would it be? Let's take a look at a few and see if we can find the perfect representative. First, a few ground rules. The Olympic Committee prefers short chord progressions, so no 12-bar blues. Secondly, we want a chord progression that has been used in some of the greatest rock songs of all time, but one that hasn't been totally reduced to a cliche. Finally, we want something that even the non-musician would be able to recognize when they hear it. A chord progression that really pops. So let's get to it. But first, a quick thank you to our sponsor, me, or more specifically, the Near Life Experience Shop, which you can check out by heading over to anthonyparkerexp.com. Now, to make sure that we are on the same page, when I Googled the definition of chord progression, this is what I got. A series of chords played in sequence that all work around a key. A group of chords that sets up the foundation of a song. I'll be referring to these chords by their Roman numerals. So, for example, the C chord in the key of C is the 1 chord. The F chord is the 4 chord, C, D, E, F. The G chord would be the 5 chord, C, D, E, F, G. You see what I'm saying? Let's start our search with what was probably the most used chord progression in the early years of rock and roll. The 1-4-5, or sometimes the 1-4-5-4. You might remember this sequence from songs like Wild Thing by the Trogs, Wild Thing, La Bamba by Richie Valens, Ba-da-ba-da-ba-la Bamba, as well as more modern songs such as Story of My Life by Social Distortion. Life goes by so fast, you only want to do what you think is right. And of course, Good Riddance by Green Day. And while this progression was certainly important for its time, I think it's a little bit dated and hokey to be our representative for the great Olympics of awesome music. So let's move on to the next one. Now, there's a little bit of disagreement as to exactly what key this one is in and how you will number the chords, but for the sake of this video, I'm going to call it 5-4-1. You've heard this progression in such great songs as Sweet Home Alabama. Turn it up. Magic Carpet Ride by Steppenwolf. Oh, I like to dream, oh, right between the sound machine. Amy by Pure Prairie League. And many, many more. Don't get me wrong, but the ultimate rock and roll chord progression? I don't think so. It's a little bit too happy. Now, I would be remiss and probably lose my rock and roll guitarist membership card if I didn't include the 4 chords that killed rock. 1, 5, 6, 4. Used occasionally in the 60s and 70s with songs such as Don't Think Twice, It's All Right by Bob Dylan. Let It Be by the Beatles. Or Country Roads by John Denver. Country roads take me home to the place where I belong. And then it made its appearance with a bang in the 80s with Don't Stop Believing by Journey. And I bet you didn't know it was in Down Under by Men at Work. We come from the land down under, the winter's blowing in thunder. Of course, the 90s brought it in with some awesome hits such as Under the Bridge by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Or When I Come Around by Green Day. I heard you crying loud all the way from uptown. And as for the 2000s, well, the list is way too long for me even to begin to cover it here. Suffice it to say, This chord progression really gets around, but I'm afraid that it's simply become too much of a cliche for me to even consider sending it to the Olympics of awesome music. But what about its cousin, 1-6-3-7? Literally the same chord progression, but this time you start on the minor chord and you're in the relative minor key. I'm talking Peace of Mind by Boston. The Passenger by Iggy Pop. I am the passenger, and I ride and I ride. The unforgettable Zombie by the Cranberries. With their tanks and their bombs and their bombs and their guns in your head, they're still crying. What's in your head? In your head, zombie, 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 yeah, yeah. And I was a little surprised when I remembered that Disarm by the Smashing Pumpkins uses this progression. Disarm you with a smile, cut you like you want me to. But unfortunately, due to its close association with the 4 chords that killed rock, I gotta disqualify it. Well, we're down to the final 2 contestants in these Olympic trials. There's the powerful, mystical, and sometimes touching progression that I think would best be described as 4-1-5. It really rocked out in songs like You Wreck Me by Tom Petty. Tonight we ride, right or wrong. It can weave you on a magical, mystical journey like Hurdy-Gurdy Man. Hurdy-gurdy, 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 gurdy side. It can move you to your core like Lightning Crashes by Live. Lightning crashes and a new mother cries. Her placenta falls to the floor. It makes a great case for the awesome music Olympics, but I kind of think it's not quite in your face enough, which brings me to my winner. But first, I'm going to show you a few honorable mentions. There's 1-4-5's younger brother, 1-4. You've heard it in such songs as I've Got a Feeling by the Beatles. I've got a feeling deep inside, oh yeah. Or 3 a.m. by Matchbox 20. And who can forget the lively 1-5-4-5 from great songs such as Love Stinks by the Jay Giles Band. Love stinks, yeah, yeah. Or the classic Sweet Jane by Velvet Underground. Standing on a corner, suitcase in my hand, Jack's in a corset, Janie's in her vest. But on to our winner. So I picked this progression because it has the greatest balance of intrigue, power, mysticism, and passion. It's a chord progression that's practically a riff. It's in the minor key, and the progression is 1-7-6-7, which was put on the map with a bang with the classic All Along the Watchtower. There must be some kind of way out of here, said the joker to the thief. There's too much confusion, I can't get no relief. It served as a great climax in the 70s for such great songs as Stairway to Heaven, and as we wind on down the road, our shadows turn than our soul. Not to mention Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars. So where were the spiders while the fly tried to break our bones? And then became the voice of anguish in the 1980s with Rockin' in the Free World by Neil Young. There's just something about its intensity that I think crowns it our winner and will represent rock and roll in the Awesome Music Olympics. So what do you think of my pick? Let me know in the comments what progression you believe should have been the representative of rock and roll in the Awesome Music Olympics.